In the golden age of television, when every line was scripted and every gesture rehearsed, one unguarded moment would accidentally create the most beloved piece of comedy history. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon in 1952, when Lucille Ball broke character not for the cameras, but because of them. What started as a genuine mistake became the laugh heard round the world, a moment so authentic, so perfectly timed, that it would define an entire generation's understanding of love, laughter, and the beautiful chaos of being human. Little did anyone know that this single unscripted second would become more famous than any line ever written for television. The year was 1951, and television was still an infant medium, struggling to find its voice in a world that worshipped the silver screen. Studio executives wore starched collars and worried expressions, constantly second-guessing every creative decision. In this landscape of uncertainty, one woman dared to be different. Lucille Ball had already conquered vaudeville and B-movies, but television? That was uncharted territory, and everyone told her it was career suicide. The Desilu Studios lot buzzed with nervous energy as crews prepared for what would become. I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball, with her flame-red hair perfectly coiffed and her comedic timing sharper than a Broadway critic's tongue, stood at the center of it all. She had fought tooth and nail to cast her real-life husband, Desi Arnaz, as her on-screen spouse, a decision that scandalized network executives who believed America wasn't ready for a mixed marriage, even a fictional one. But Lucy knew something they didn't. She understood that the best comedy came from truth, from the raw, unfiltered moments when people forgot to pretend. The cameras would capture not just their performances, but their souls, and sometimes, when the stars aligned just right, magic happened in the spaces between the scripted words. The stage was set, the lights were hot, and television history was about to be made by accident. Behind the polished veneer of America's Sweethearts lay a complex tapestry of love, ambition, and barely contained chaos. Lucille Ball, the perfectionist, arrived at the studio each morning at 6 a.m., her script memorized, her blocking rehearsed, her comedic beats timed to the split second. Desi Arnaz, the charming Cuban bandleader, brought his own brand of organized chaos, a man who could conduct a 16-piece orchestra but couldn't remember to pick up his socks. There, marriage was a study in opposites. Lucy, the control freak who planned every meal, every outfit, every breath. Desi, the free spirit who lived in the moment and trusted his instincts. On set, this dynamic created electricity that cameras couldn't help but capture. The crew would watch, mesmerized, as their real-life disagreements seamlessly transformed into Lucy and Ricky's fictional spats. William Frawley, who played Fred Mertz, once observed that you could tell the state of the Arnaz marriage by watching the dailies. On good days, their chemistry was magnetic. On difficult days, their performances crackled with an edge that made the comedy feel dangerous, unpredictable. Little did anyone know that it was precisely this unpredictability that would soon give birth to television's most legendary unscripted moment. A moment born not from the script, but from the beautiful, complicated reality of two people trying to love each other while the world watched not. It was episode 23 of the first season, titled The Ballet, and the script called for a relatively straightforward scene. Lucy Ricardo was supposed to take ballet lessons to surprise her husband, only to discover she had 2 left feet and the grace of a startled elephant. The writers had crafted what they thought was a solid bit physical comedy with heart, showcasing Lucy's earnest attempts at elegance and her spectacular failures. But television in 1952 was still finding its rhythm. Scripts were more like suggestions, blocking was fluid, and directors were learning on the fly. The scene was set in Madame Lemond's ballet studio, complete with bars, mirrors, and costumes that made Lucy look like a deranged swan. A supporting actress playing, the ballet instructor had been chosen more for her authentic ballet training than her comedy chops, a decision that would prove both fortuitous and problematic. Rehearsals had gone smoothly, perhaps too smoothly. Everyone knew their marks, their lines, their pratfalls. The cameras were positioned, the lights adjusted, the sound levels checked. It was supposed to be just another day at the office, just another scene in what was becoming America's favorite show. But as any performer will tell you, the most memorable moments happen when everything that can go wrong does go wrong. And sometimes, when it goes wrong in exactly the right way, magic is born. The crew called action. And television history held its breath. At precisely 2:47 p.m. on that fateful Tuesday, Lucille Ball stepped into frame wearing a tutu that made her look like a confused fairy godmother. The scene was simple. Lucy would attempt a grand jeet, fail spectacularly, and deliver a scripted line about her natural grace. The ballet instructor would respond with practiced disdain. Lucy would try again, and the audience would laugh at the predictable chaos. But as Lucy prepared for her leap, something unexpected happened. The ballet instructor, nervous about performing in front of cameras, missed her own mark and bumped into the piano. The sound was jarring, unexpected, and completely off script. For a split second, everyone froze. Everyone except Lucy, who turned toward the sound with genuine surprise painted across her face. What happened next lasted only 3 seconds, but those 3 seconds would echo through television history. Lucy, caught completely off guard, began to laugh. Not the Lucy Ricardo laugh that audiences knew and loved, but Lucille Ball's real laugh, unguarded, spontaneous, and utterly authentic. It was the sound of a woman who had just witnessed something genuinely funny, not because a writer had crafted it, but because life had delivered it. The camera, still rolling, captured every nuance of that genuine moment of joy. And in that instant, the line between Lucy Ricardo and Lucille Ball disappeared forever. Behind the cameras, director Mark Daniels faced an impossible choice. Standard protocol dictated that when actors broke character, you called cut and started over. The scene was ruined, the take was blown, and professional standards demanded a do-over. His finger hovered over the button that would stop the cameras, reset the scene, and erase what had just happened from history. But something made him hesitate. Perhaps it was the way Lucy's genuine laughter seemed to light up the entire soundstage. Perhaps it was the way Desi, still in character as Ricky Ricardo, began to smile. Not his scripted smile, but a real one. The smile of a husband watching his wife experience pure joy. Or perhaps it was the way the crew, usually focused on technical details, had all turned to watch, drawn like moths to the flame of authentic human emotion. The seconds ticked by 5, 6, 7, and still Daniels kept the cameras rolling. Later, he would say that something told him this moment was special, that cutting would be like interrupting lightning. The script supervisor frantically scribbled notes. The sound engineer adjusted levels to capture every nuance of Lucy's laughter, and the camera operators, trained to follow the action, instinctively kept their lenses focused on the magic unfolding before them. In the editing room weeks later, this decision would prove to be the most important creative choice in television history. But in that moment, it was pure instinct, the recognition that sometimes reality is far more entertaining than anything writers could imagine. As Lucille Ball's genuine laughter filled the soundstage, Desi Arnaz faced his own moment of truth. He could break character, joining his wife in her spontaneous mirth, or he could stay in character as Ricky Ricardo and somehow incorporate this unexpected moment into the scene. In a flash of improvisational genius that would make Broadway veterans weep with envy, Desi chose a third option. He became both husband and character simultaneously. Still speaking in Ricky's distinctive accent, Desi began to chuckle and shake his head, delivering an unscripted line that would become legendary. "Lucy, you got some splainin' to do ... about why you're laughing." But the way he said it with genuine affection and barely contained amusement, revealed the real Desi beneath the character. It was the voice of a man who had watched his wife break into spontaneous laughter 1,000 times before, in their kitchen, in their car, in quiet moments when no one was watching. The ballet instructor, realizing that something magical was happening, abandoned her own script and began to giggle too. What had started as one woman's authentic reaction was now becoming a moment of shared joy, captured forever on film. The cameras kept rolling as all pretense fell away, and for 30 seconds, the audience was watching real people having a real moment of happiness. It was television at its most powerful, not as entertainment, but as a window into the human experience. The laugh that had started as an accident was now becoming the heartbeat of the scene, and everyone present knew they were witnessing something unprecedented. The transformation was immediate and infectious. What had begun as Lucille Ball's solitary moment of genuine amusement spread through the soundstage like wildfire. The crew, usually invisible and professional, began exchanging glances and suppressing their own smiles. The script supervisor stopped writing. The prop master forgot to reset the piano. Even the stern-faced network executive, who had been lurking in the shadows with